Hi, everyone. I'm Tanner from the Legal Tech Fund, and welcome back to another episode of In Studio. Today, I'm sitting down with Ted from Infodash. This is actually Ted's second time joining us in studio, and a lot has happened since we last spoke. Infodash has gone from building digital workplaces for law firms on the intranet side to shaping how the industry thinks about collaboration when it comes to intranets, extranets, and now unified client engagement. We'll catch up on their journey from early traction to working with nearly a quarter of the AmLaw 100 in just 3 years. And we'll explore what's next for legal digital infrastructure in the age of AI. Ted, why don't you quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Ted Theodoropoulos, the CEO of Infodash. I've been in the legal space for a long time, starting back in maybe 2008 timeframe. We used to be a company called AcroWire, and we were a services organization, and we did a lot of time and materials consulting in the big law space. We started building intranets and extranets for law firms really early on in our journey. We partnered with a few product companies along the way and realized that we wanted to build a better mousetrap. So we started that process all the way back in 2018, and we relaunched and rebranded the business as a product company in January of 2022. So 3.5, almost 4 years.
Awesome. And it's been a minute since we last caught up in studio, Ted, and a lot has happened for Infodash. What are some of the major milestones you guys have hit since we last spoke?
Man, so many things. Well, I happen to be here in Silicon Valley today. Infodash was named to the Cloud 100 Rising Stars list, which is put together by Forbes and Bessemer Venture Partners, which is a leading fund here in the Valley. And I get to rub elbows tonight with the CEOs of the Cloud 100, which is super cool. That's one development. We launched our extranet product that's been in R&D for years now. We started on the intranet side because so many law firms in 2022 were moving to the cloud, moving their SharePoint infrastructure to M365, and they had an immediate need. Like they had to do something very quickly with their intranets because what you have on prem, you really can't just forklift it into the cloud. It's a completely different customization model. And so there's no forklifting. You really kind of have to reimagine it. So we started with intranet. And while that was underway, we undertook the research and development to build our extranet platform, which is an alternative to HiQ that, is a big player in that space. And how we're different is, we are hosted inside the client's tenant. HiQ is a very ring fenced solution that's hosted. It's a Thomson Reuters product. TR hosts that product. Getting data in and out, there's a lot of friction there. With our solution, we deploy in the client's tenant. So serving up real time data to build experiences, client facing experiences, to help with client engagement and improving the customer journey for law firms is much easier with our platform. Let's see, you mentioned, we're now, it's actually 25% of the AmLaw 200. So we've got our install base is now exceeds 50 AmLaw 200 firms, and we've done that in a little over 3 years. So great momentum. The extranet product is taking off like wildfire. We've actually had to slow it down a little bit and create a wait list because we want to make sure that every early client is successful and kind of build on our successes and our wins. So we're starting to get to a place now where we can take on clients in mass. But like we created a lighthouse program where we limited it to just 3 firms. And 2 of those 3 are live and doing great and are doing cartwheels all over all the new capabilities. Our third lighthouse customer, they have a really big customization project. It's going to take us quite a while to get them there, but we're starting to get to a place where we can open it up to general availability here real soon.
I love it. It's a great problem to have when you have to slow down deployment. But you talked about reimagining intranets and to a degree extranets. Like they definitely can feel outdated. What are some aspects in how you define what a modern digital workplace for law firms look like?
Yeah, I mean, even the terms intranet and extranet are totally dated. I mean, it sounds like terms out of the '90s, which they are. Their names come from intra, meaning internal facing, external facing, and historically you managed extranets in like a DMZ outside of your network, and your intranets were inside of your network. All that is gone now. All that terminology no longer makes sense because nobody's SharePoint on-prem is dead, right? And that's where law firms 95% of law firms have SharePoint based intranets. So we have very much moved away from the terminology. We still use it because the market understands it. We like to call it unified collaboration because that's really what it is. It's how intranets and extranets are how you collaborate internally with your associates and stakeholders. Extranet is how you collaborate with your clients. Historically, extranets have been thought of very much as file sharing, and file sharing is still a major use case, but there's so much more that you can do in the extranet realm now, especially when you deploy a solution like Infodash, which, by the way, Infodash got its name. We're like DoorDash for your data, right? So we serve it up when you want it, where you want it, and how you want it. And with the ability to surface real time data from back office systems like practice management, document management, experience management, CRM, HRIS, you can build like super rich experiences for your internal stakeholders and clients. So, we're building out scenarios where law firm clients can log into their client portals and see all of the matters that the firm is working on them, where they are, budget to actual. They can look at all of the attorneys who have billed time to those matters and detailed information about where they went to law school, who they clerked for, what bar admissions do they have, what languages do they speak. All of those sorts of attributes are available now that create very rich experiences for law firm clients that was really hard to do pre Infodash. So we're changing the game in how law firms engage with their clients, and I think that's going to be extremely important in this post AI transformation era, because it's not everything historically in legal has been very work product centric, right? Like, what do lawyers do? They create documents, right? They do other stuff as well. They're advisors, but the meat and potatoes of legal work has been centered. It's been very document centric. We are entering into an era now with where we have alternative fee arrangements, where now that we have generative AI and the ability to fast track document creation and work product development, how are we going to engage with our clients? They're going to have higher expectations around the information that's presented to them, how they place matters, how they get updates on matters. If we're working on a fixed price scenario, fixed price requires fixed scope. How are we doing on? Do we have new out of scope items that need to be discussed? Don't wait until you send me the bill, Mr. Law Firm, to find out that we've exceeded scope and now our fixed price has increased. We need to start having those conversations early, and our extranet platform creates a collaboration mechanism to facilitate that.
I love it. You mentioned how the intranet and extranet terms are, historically from the 80s or 90s. So it's not too surprising that law firms, often get labeled maybe unfairly as technology laggards. What's changed in the last few years to accelerate cloud and AI adoption that you're seeing?
Yeah, I don't think it's unfairly. I think it's I think law firms have earned their reputation as being laggards, and that's not a dig. You know, the reality is the nature of law firm work has been very is a very artisan process that's been very bespoke, and the ability to implement technology solutions to automate that have been there's friction there. If you ask 10 different attorneys for the same legal document, you're probably going to get 10 different iterations of what that looks like. This Gen AI transformation is going to change that. There will be more standards, there will be more processes as part of the legal service delivery process. And Gen AI has really been the catalyst behind this acceleration in tech investment with law firms. Historically, it's been really easy to look at tech as an expense rather than an investment, and that's how law firms have looked. Big law firms have looked at technology. Most of them. I'm generalizing here, and we're now in an era where technology is going to be a differentiator and strategic to how work gets done. So generative AI has really changed, I guess, how loose the purse strings have been tightened at these law firms around tech spend, and we're super excited to be in the space at this moment. It's change is scary, but it's also exciting. So we're really looking forward to what's next.
When we think of technology as a differentiator for some of these law firms and the firms that are investing with Infodash, what case studies on use cases have you seen law firms leveraging Infodash, as a single pane of glass to get real time insights? Like what are some customer case studies?
Man, we have some really cool ones. One published one that we have out there is with Finnegan. They're an IP law firm. They took all of their policy documentation. So this could be laptop reimbursement policy, paid time off policy, sexual harassment policy, and that information historically has existed in PDFs, wikis, web pages, and we've crawled and indexed that using Azure AI Search, and with Azure OpenAI, our integration hub that gets deployed with our product that right now is included. We may skew that out down the road at some point, but that integration hub allows Azure, all of the Microsoft AI goodies to talk to these back office systems. So they now have a chatbot that a law firm, that a law firm associate right on their intranet can go ask, what's the balance of my PTO policy? What's the limit on my laptop reimbursement policy? What are the ethical rules around, our gifting policy? That's one. Another really exciting one is we have a large labor and employment firm that is leveraging our extranet platform, and they have this beautiful curated data set of labor and employment updates for all 50 states. And today, their clients log in and peruse these regulatory updates. And we said, hey, what if you take that beautifully curated data set and all of the documents that you already have for the client, like their employment agreements, their employee handbooks, and we crawl and vectorize that using Azure AI Search. And then we create an exception process using Azure OpenAI that goes through and finds exceptions like, hey, non-competes just got banned in California. You have 9,000 employment documents with non-compete language with California as venue. Flag those as exceptions, create work items in Power Automate, route them to the attorneys, and the attorney goes, yes, 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 and then that gets published to a client portal where the client then sees issues that need to be remediated and goes approve, 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 and then the law firm does the work. So it allows the law firm to be proactive with their clients, and those are all revenue generating opportunities for the law firm. So complete game changer. Law firms have historically been very reactive. It's not their fault. It's just the nature of how clients engage, right? You call law firms when you have a problem or you're trying to avoid a problem. If you got a problem you don't know about, how do you find out about it? Usually when something bad happens. So this our product is enabling firms to tell their clients they have problems even know it.
I love it. Maybe, let's zoom out like to a 30,000-foot view. When you bring intranet and extranet together, what does that mean in practice and why does that matter to, firms and then their end clients?
Man, it's so you will have one interface to learn, you'll have one system to license, and you'll have one platform to manage. Whereas today, intranet and extranet are separate. HiQ has effectively zero market share in the intranet side. The old player in the intranet space was Handshake. They had effectively zero market share on the extranet side. We're coming in and going, hey, you know what? These things were separate because they existed in separate infrastructures. Your intranet lived on prem, your extranet lived in the cloud. Now that we're pushing everything into the cloud, it makes much more sense to have a unified platform where you manage all your collaboration. So all the work that we do wiring up integrations with back office systems for intranet is already done for extranet. So again, you can expose that real-time data not just to your internal people but also to your clients. So there's a ton of synergies. I mean, just being candid, HiQ's been the only viable player in the space that's legal focused. That's no longer the case, and as a result, I there's been limited innovation. Prices have consistently gone up. The market has been very hungry for alternatives, and we are that alternative. So we're seeing a lot of excitement about the direction that we're headed.
I love it. Let's talk about maybe, the direction you guys are headed and the journey along the way. I mean, you guys have grown to serve nearly a quarter of the AmLaw 200 in a very short time. What lessons stand out to you from that journey?
Oh my goodness. Well, over the years, I've worked with more than half the AM law, so my journey goes back further than just Infodash. I've learned so much along the way. It's interesting. Legal is a unique beast. I you know I say this often, but lawyers don't buy tech; they buy social proof. Right? You can have the best tech on the planet. And if you don't have the case studies, the first thing they ask you is what other law firms use your technology and give me their names and numbers so I can go talk to them. That is much more important in legal than it is in other verticals, for a number of reasons. Lawyers are risk averse and they're also very precedent focused, right? How does, the legal process points to successful cases in the same area of law and use that as reference points. So that has been a big learning, in our early days for founders who are new to legal. It is really difficult in the beginning to get the momentum because, like our first at bat with a New York AmLaw firm, they said, hey, they didn't want to know just what other AmLaw firms we did business with. They wanted to know what other AmLaw firms in New York that we did business with. And the answer at that time was zero. So we had to claw our way in and build trust incrementally. And that took time. If you look at like the Harveys and Lagoras out there who have just totally fast tracked that process, a couple of things there. First of all, look at Harvey's cap table, right? You've got Google Ventures, OpenAI, A16Z, Sequoia. That's the credibility that got them in those firms. If you don't have a cap table like that, you're going to have to earn it like we did, and that takes some time.
Awesome. When we think about generative AI reshaping expectations in, the legal tech industry, what does the next phase of Infodash look like and how do you see the slowly and then suddenly moment hitting legal?
Yes, the slowly then suddenly dynamic, I think, is real. I mean, look at AI itself. AI has been around for 50 years. the discipline and science of AI, um, and it's been fairly popular amongst the tech bubble for 20 years. I mean, think back to when Watson on Jeopardy, and Deep Blue playing Kasparov in chess, and the what was the Go AlphaGo in, God, what was that, 2015, 2016? AI has been around for a long time, and then ChatGPT hit, and boom, the whole world takes notice. So it was a very slow evolution and then explosion. I see the same thing happening in legal. Historically has moved very slow in many respects, but especially when it comes to innovation. And we're moving slow now as well, in terms of not so much with the tech. There's lots of law firms out there that are experimenting with new technology, and many that are rolling out like implementations. But what we're not tackling is some of the more foundational elements, like the internal firm compensation model. That has to change, because how do you implement alternative fee structures in a system where lawyers are ruthlessly judged on their billable hours, right? We're going to have to start managing to the bottom line, right? The bottom line impact of lawyers, not how many hours they bill, how much net margin did they generate. We're not really having those conversations. Our client engagement models, again, look at our extranets. Like, we've just been shuffling files back and forth. Clients are going to want more, and I think the value where lawyers are, kind of the value chain is going to escalate. Lawyers are really going to be advisors, less work product driven, more advisory. So we are. I think we really need to challenge even the law firm partnership model. It's a partnership model that operates on a cash basis, right? These are billion-dollar companies operating on a cash basis. By The IRS rules dictate that any business more than 25 million in revenue adopts an accrual basis accounting, except there's a carve out for professional services that law firms take advantage of. So why does that matter? There's cash basis partnerships are optimized for profit taking. In a tech enabled service delivery area, we now have to carve out resources for R&D. Like, we can't just buy Harvey and Lagora and go, "Oh, we're good." No, that's the beginning of the conversation, not the end. Yes, I'm no shade being thrown to those tools. They're great tools, but that's the beginning of the journey, not the end. How do we differentiate ourselves as law firms? It's not going to be with buying off the shelf tools. We're going to have to differentiate ourselves using all of our data, all those documents that created winning outcomes for our clients. We have to leverage that to differentiate ourselves. And you can't do that when you're bringing your data to AI. You need to bring AI to your data, and that's going to require some R&D. And the current cash basis partnership model of legal is not optimized for that. So I think we got to have some difficult conversations about some sacred cows in the legal industry, and hopefully they'll start happening soon.
I love it, Ted. So there's a lot of folks listening that are either in that beginning part of that journey you just allude to, or they're migrating from on-prem to cloud, or they're starting to think about what reimagining their extranet experience could look like. Where's the best place for folks to get into contact with the Infodash team?
So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Ted Theodoropoulos, Ted Theo is the end of the LinkedIn URL. I'd love to connect with people on LinkedIn. Our website is getinfodash.com for those that want to find out more. We're present at a ton of legal KM and technology conferences, including TLTF Summit. But we're at KM and I in a couple of weeks. We're at Legal Geek over in London, ILTACon, Legal Week. We really usually have a presence at pretty much all the KM and innovation conferences. So I'd say reach out online, or if you see us in person, please grab us, and we'd love to have a conversation.
Awesome. Well, Ted, thanks so much for joining us in studio.
Thanks for having me.